I hope you guys have your Notary Public manual that can actually help when it comes to just finding exactly where this information can be found. I'm all about making sure you understand how to navigate in your notary manual when we cover um, every topic because you want to make sure you know how to confirm the information from the laws, and not just my word, okay? Because it's important for you to learn to not just take the word of anybody, and know exactly where the resources are to find the factual confirmation for it. We have, again, our North Carolina General Statutes that is the staple of the laws that we must follow and obey as a notary public. And then we have the administrative code on the Secretary of State level that actually has their policies that we must follow as well. So those things are both covered in throughout our manual. And tonight's topic, we're going to cover the chapter 3 is based on some of the information we're going to cover tonight. So chapter 3 covers a lot of things, but the goal is for you to understand what area that you can still find a lot of the information to make it, or it kind of benefits you to get scenarios, being able to have questions and answers during our time live. So again, I want to make sure that you can make the most of our time together during this hour so that you can leave knowing that you've learned something and that you can actually, again, benefit from the information for your notary journey. So if everyone can keep themselves muted until the end of the presentation, that would be greatly appreciated. Again, write down any of the questions you may have in the chat. You should be able to write down, or I should say type in, again, the city and county that you're in. That is like our introduction for the room. However, when questions come along that you won't asked to answer, please put Q in the front of that so that we can distinguish those comments versus questions that need to be answered. Our lovely moderator will definitely be able to help with making sure we can get those questions, and then we'll have the opportunity that you can raise your hand and ask the question live so we can actually make sure your questions are answered in the time that we have, okay? So getting started, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So tonight's topic is the human firewall, why notaries must ask questions and protect the public. And so when it comes to this, if I ask, do you know what this is? I'm not being nosy. I'm ensuring you aren't being coerced. So this is something, again, that can be beneficial for the signers to understand that when we ask certain questions, again, we're not trying to be all in their business, but this is part of our position as a notary public to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and not just appearing and going through the step-by-step process of personally identifying them, but to really make sure that we go above and beyond to cover all of the bases of what we should be doing at every appointment. All right. So when it comes to the notary mindset, why we ask questions. So the goal is to shift the perception of questioning from being nosy to acting as a safeguard. So as a North Carolina notary, you are an impartial public official. The questions you ask are not social niceties. They are the tools you use to perform your duties with integrity and legal compliance. We ask questions to ensure the signer is alert, aware, and acting of their own free will. So just think about how many times throughout your journey that you've noticed people who may not be understanding what they're signing. They may have not comprehended anything they read, or for those that seem that they are not in the right state of mind of memory loss, where again they're not recollecting exactly what they're doing. And so again, there are certain questions as a safeguard that we are supposed to ask so we can make sure that there's no doubt they are very fully aware and willingly signing a document that we're notarizing their signatures. of. So when it comes to the legal basis for inquiry, under North Carolina law, you must refuse a notarial act if you believe the document contains false information or if you suspect fraud. Liability protection. Asking questions protects you as the notary. Failing to verify the signer's understanding or voluntariness is a top cause for notary disciplinary action by the department. So the why versus the how, very different. You weren't advising them on the legal content, which is unauthorized practice of law if you do. You are confirming the integrity of the act. When it comes to recognizing risk beyond the signature, please make sure everyone's muted. So when it comes to the coercion factor, if a signer is pressured of or sedated, they cannot provide valid consent, asking, do you know what this is? Or are you signing this willingly? Is your first line of defense. Again, asking these questions is going to be very helpful and necessary when we are on an appointment to notarize a document for anyone. So when it comes to the red flags that you should be very aware of, if there's urgency, excessive emotion, or confusion, should always trigger follow-up questions to us. These are not signs to proceed, but signs to investigate the situation a little further. Again, people can talk with body language, so please pay attention to all of those things. Maintaining boundaries. Clearly communicate your scope. You are there to witness the signature, which requires absolute clarity from the principal signer. All right. So, case study number one, the hurry up principle. I've seen that in so many situations. And again, this is some things that can help you if you haven't dealt with a scenario like this. You can prepare yourself for when it does happen. So the situation is you arrive at a mobile appointment. The signer is agitated, pacing, and repeatedly says, just hurry up and stamp this. I have a flight to catch in an hour. Very demanding. So the challenge, the signer is pressuring you to skip the standard verification steps due to their perceived time crunch. So how do you maintain your professional composure while the client is pushing for speed? How do you firmly but politely set the boundary that your process cannot be rushed? So you explain that rushing the process puts the validity of the document at risk, which hurts the signer in the long run. Offer to proceed only if the process can be done correctly. Otherwise, you can decline and have them go to another notary because we have to again set boundaries. We have to help them understand why our position is completely for their protection, and there's no hurrying just because of their urgency is not our urgency. So again, we want to make sure that for those that are new notaries in the room, this is something very helpful for you to know that you will be in pressured situations. However, it's all about understanding how to manage the situation because they need you. You don't need them. So if they're calling you to actually assist them in this way, then they have to follow your rules as you're following the rules of the law. Okay, so it's that simple. And the more you put that into practice and feel less intimidated for situations where people may come at you and you are not used to that type of pressure, again, just check yourself, breathe, and just know that this is something that you have the control of because they need you and not you need them. All right. So, case study number two, the signing for a spouse. So the situation is you are notarizing a deed. One spouse is present, but they insist on signing for their partner who is downstairs, quote unquote, or at work and supposedly busy. They say, oh, I have his power of attorney. It's fine. So the challenge is the signer is attempting to bypass the personal appearance requirement of a common North Carolina violation. So you want to make sure, again, you remember personal appearance for all parties, that signature you're supposed to be notarizing is before you. So what questions do you ask to confirm the location of the absent signer? And then how do you clearly explain that personal presence, even if virtual in some contexts, is not negotiable? Okay. So you want to refuse the act for the absent party. Educate the present spouse that you cannot notarize for someone who does not appear before you. That's like number one law, and that's the number one law that's broken all the time, even with attorneys, unfortunately. So you should educate the present spouse that you cannot notarize for anyone who does not appear before you. If the spouse is to sign as an attorney in fact, the document must be structured for that representation in that capacity. And the spouse must be identified as the individual appearing and signing before you. So there is protocols when you're dealing with a power of attorney situation. Everything dealing with certain documents should show who is supposed to be signing what. And again, if someone is actually representing another in a different capacity, that structure should be implemented on the document. So there's no confusion for us as a notary when it comes to who we're dealing with. All right. So in North Carolina, when a person signs a document in a representative capacity under a power of attorney, the following legal requirements and best practices apply. These are the signature formats. The attorney in fact, which is the agent, signs on behalf of the principal. Common and acceptable signature formats include Format A, example is the principal's name by the agent's name with following agent or attorney in fact. So if it was John Doe, the principal, by Jane Smith, the attorney in fact, that's how you would write their name. And that's how they need to actually sign the name on behalf of the other person. Then you have the example format B, the agent's name, attorney in fact for the principal's name. So that would be Jane Smith, attorney in fact for John Doe. Okay. And then other variations could be principal's name by agent's name, attorney in fact, or principal's name by agent's name, power of attorney. These are things I want you to take time to practice on what that should look like, writing it out yourself, because when you have to write this out on the notarial certificate, you want to make sure there's no question as far as making sure when you come across this in reality that you have this to refer back to. All right, because this is going to help you along the way. This is just a few examples of many others when someone may say that they are a benefactor of someone. There's different types of positions and capacities. All right, just remember that we are not responsible for them giving us the proof of that. That is not our job. So again, if they say that they are this person a power of attorney, then again, there's protocols on how they need to sign for the other person. So when it comes to your responsibility regarding authority, representation of authority, when signers claim to act in a representative or fiduciary capacity, they are representing to you that they have the legal authority to do so. Now, no duty to verify. So I'm going to repeat what I just shared earlier. As a North Carolina notary, you have no duty to verify whether the signer actually holds the representative capacity they claim or if they are authorized to sign in that capacity. Notarial certificate. You may complete a certificate that includes statements identifying the representative capacity, but you are not obligated to confirm the underlying legal documents like the power of attorney agreement. So again, we notaries notarize these all the time. When it comes to someone says, "Oh, I need to get my power of attorney notarized," that they themselves are saying, "I'm giving my power to the attorney in fact on this document." So we notarize those documents, but once it's actually fully executed, and that agent is now signing on behalf of the principal that you met, you don't see that document as proof anymore because you're going by what this person is telling you. But it's all about how that information is structured on the different documents, and you need to be very mindful of what type of documents that need to be applied to when it comes to what should be already structured, pre-printed ahead of time. And a deed is one of those. Okay. So avoiding unauthorized practice of law, very, very, very important. You should not suggest how a person should sign or advise them on the legal content of the document, as this could be considered the unauthorized practice of law. So these are the key takeaways and conclusion that I would like for you to actually again have. You are the guardian. Your seal is not just a stamp, it is a mark of trust. Every question you ask reinforces that trust. Consistency is key. Do not make exceptions for sad stories or urgent situations. Following the letter of the law is the only way to protect yourself and the public. So, in closing thoughts, asking questions is a service to the public. You are ensuring that every document is signed by someone who knows what they are doing and why they are doing it. So now we can take this to be. So again, if you're here on YouTube, everything that we went over when it comes to the Q&A, you have to be on live to see that version. Otherwise, you just see the presentation. So I thank you guys for again taking the time to subscribe. Please all subscribe, like, and share information of this channel to other notaries that may not know that they have this resource to them. Again, I have videos straight from the beginning of this year, some from last year starting in November. I'm not sure if I'm going to be publishing all the other ones because it goes back from 2022. No, 2024 when it comes to all of the videos that I do have on the playlist. So again, it's like a podcast section to help you find everything in that one space for all of our TNT. So this is always a joy every single week to meet with my phenomenal notaries that come on, share their wisdom and other tips. So I've seen a lot of notaries that I have not actually even seen in person yet, but I feel like I know you guys for a very long time because you are actively coming and showing up for yourself. So again, I don't want to actually